What's going on, everybody? Today is April 19th, 2020. In this video, we're going to talk about a docu-series which is beginning tonight called The Last Dance. This series is airing on ESPN since there's no live sports going on right now during the coronavirus pandemic. And in this video, we're going to talk about the numerology of the release of this series. The first and perhaps actually most obvious thing to point out is how this series release is in accordance with astrology. The series begins tonight on April 19th, and it's about the Chicago Bulls, which Michael Jordan played for in the 90s. Notice how April 19th is the first day of Taurus on the zodiac. Taurus is, of course, Latin for bull. And how fitting we get a documentary about the Chicago Bulls on the first day of Taurus. So let's dive right into the numerology. Of course, we're going to use the language of Gematria, the same ciphers as we do in every single video, the practice of coding numbers into words. The most basic cipher called English Ordinal, numbering the alphabet 1 through 26. This works in accordance with the reduction or Pythagorean method, which uses the rules of numerology to reduce each double-digit number to a single digit prior to adding it to the equation. In this case, the title The Last Dance is being used for this film. Notice how this last dance sums to 112 in the alphabetic order. In reverse, we also get 212 and 68. These numbers are significant because the team that it follows is called the Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls also summing to 112, 212, and 68. Notice the director of the series also with this 212 Gematria. The number 68 being significant to this as well. This is the Gematria of basketball, the sport that's featured in the docuseries. So in this video, we'll take a look at the numerology of Michael Jordan, who was, of course, the Finals MVP that year, and perhaps the most famous basketball player of all time. We'll also look at the coach of the Bulls during that time, Phil Jackson, who led them to 6 NBA championships. And we'll also glance at Michael Jordan's most notable sidekick during this era, Scottie Pippen, and see how he is numerically aligned with Michael Jordan through the numbers of Phil Jackson. Very interesting decode in this video. We're also going to point out that in reduction, basketball sums to 22. And this, of course, stands out because the docuseries begins during the 1997-98 season, which is exactly 22 years ago. And, of course, it's debuting in the year 2020, which in numerology represents the number 22. Furthermore, Michael Jordan was born on the date February 17th. Meaning that this documentary begins 2 months and 2 days after his birthday. Using the alphabetic order, Last Dance, the name of the documentary, sums to 79. This is the 22nd prime number. Remember how on New Year's Day this year, in 2020, the first day of 2020, we lost David Stern, the former NBA commissioner. Notice how David equals 22, just like Stern. He was even born on the 22nd day of the month. The other major cipher I teach on this channel is a large number cipher called Latin or Jewish Gematria. This cipher uses the Latin alphabetic order, with more modern English characters placed at the end of the cipher, and this certainly the most significant outside of the alphabetic order. Using this method, Michael Jeffrey Jordan sums to 1953. 1953 is a triangular number. If you add every number 1 through 62, you arrive at a sum of 1953. And that's interesting because just the name Jordan on its own also sums to 62. Now, during the 1997-1998 Chicago Bulls season, notice how they finished the year with a total of 62 wins. And of course, in astrology, the bull is Taurus. Taurus sums to 62. This documentary, beginning on April 19th, again, the first day of Taurus on the zodiac. Michael Jordan was born on February 17th, meaning this documentary begins 62 days after Michael Jordan's birthday. And then think about Phil Jackson, the coach of the Bulls during the 90s, who was certainly an integral piece of this series. Phil Jackson also sums to 62 using the reverse reduction method. This series is going to run through May 17th. You'll see the final 2 episodes airing May 17th next month. Notice how May 17th has primary numerology of 62. Now, it's also worth mentioning that this documentary was being filmed in the late 90s. During that time, Adam Silver, who is the current NBA commissioner, he was the head of NBA entertainment at the time. And look what year Adam Silver was born in. That's right, 62. I noticed a very interesting numeric alignment between Adam Silver and Michael Jordan. Measuring between their birthdays, we get a span of 299 days. Well, on the date of the final episode of this docuseries, Michael Jordan will be 20,909 days old. Looking again at Michael Jordan's birthday, I want to point out that this series begins a span, with the end date included, of 63 days after Michael Jordan's birthday. The series also begins on a date with primary numerology of 63. Now, this is a number significant to Michael Jordan. He was born in the year 63. In the year 1998, the Chicago Bulls' final season, which this documentary once again covers, notice how the 1998 NBA Finals began on the date June 3rd, or 6/3. And what really brings this together is that when you measure from Michael Jordan's birthday to Phil Jackson's birthday, which falls on 9/17 of 1945, notice how they're separated by exactly 6,363 days. Phil Jackson's birthday is extremely interesting. Notice how he was born on the 260th day of the year. This is a number that's significant to the Chicago Bulls. In reverse, the Chicago Bulls equals 260, and they play their home games in the city of Chicago, Illinois, which also sums to 260. Phil Jackson's birthday of September 17th can be written 17/9. The name Phil Jackson sums to 179. We looked at the number of days between Jordan and Jackson's birthdays. Well, not only was this an exact 63-63, it's also exactly 209 months. And that really stands out because NBA Finals equals 209. So does NBA Champions, 209. And Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan won 6 of these titles. Notice how 6 also equals 29 in the reverse order, a lot like 209. And on the date that this Chicago Bulls won their 6th NBA title, notice how Phil Jackson was 52 years old, which is the ordinal value of 6. Also worth pointing out how Michael Jordan is currently 57 years old during the release of this series. The NBA Finals equals 57, so does NBA Finals. So we've solidified a connection between Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson numerically as they went ahead and won all their NBA titles. Well, you got to like the numeric connection between Michael Jordan and his sidekick, Scottie Pippen, as well. And of course, if you ask any basketball fan who was paying any attention during the 90s, they'll tell you that Michael Jordan's number one teammate was Scottie Pippen. Of course, there were a lot of other good players on the team, but as NBA Jam so eloquently coded into their game, Jordan and Pippen were the number 1 and number 2 guys. And what I first found funny is that in English Extended Gematria, this cipher, very close to Latin Gematria, but it instead uses the current 26-letter alphabet. Notice how the name Scottie Pippen sums to 851 in this English Extended method. This is the same as the Jewish value of Michael Jordan. Scottie Pippen was born on September 25th of 1965. Notice how he has primary birth numerology of 118 and then a life lesson number of 55. This lines up with his coach, Phil Jackson, which sums to 118 in ordinal and then 55 with the S exception in reduction. When the Chicago Bulls won their final NBA championship, notice how that date had a numerology of 118. We also find that it was a span of 118 days after Michael Jordan's birthday. But here's the real kicker. When you measure from Scottie Pippen's birthday to Michael Jordan's birthday, you get 2 years, 220 days. This is also 31 months and 8 days. And why does this stand out? Philip Douglas Jackson sums to 222 in ordinal and 318 in reverse. Numbers that are found in the exact measurement between the birthdays of Pippen and Jordan. Pretty incredible stuff. Of course, there's a little bit more to uncover as well. I want to point out how Michael Jordan equals 113 in the alphabetic order. He's known as perhaps the greatest basketball player of all time. Some might tell you it's Kobe Bryant, who just recently passed away, of course. Kobe Bryant, also 113 in Gematria. Kobe's death foreshadowed the coronavirus pandemic, which was declared as such by the World Health Organization on the date 11/3, the 11th of March, in the year 2020. Think about how in 1998, the Bulls defeated the Utah Jazz to win their 6th NBA championship. This number is significant to the National Basketball Association. Remember, this was the first major sports league to shut down in light of the coronavirus pandemic. That sums to 113. Well, if we don't use the word "the," look how we get the number 98. This documentary following the Bulls through the 1998 NBA Finals. And of course, to bring this all together, we finally take a look at Michael Jeffrey Jordan, his full name Gematria, which reveals a final 98. So quite the perfect numeric ritual. Do people look at this and still believe that sports are real? I don't know, guys. You tell me, but pretty interesting numbers on this team as well. The 23, 33, and 91. I always found it interesting that Michael Jordan wore 23. He was affectionately known as MJ, which equals 23 in Gematria. Also notice how MJ equals 630 in Jewish Gematria. MJ born in the year 63. And then Scottie Pippen, of course, with the 33, a huge occult number. 91 for Dennis Rodman also stands out. 91 is the 13th triangular number, and 13 and 33 when paired. Very significant numbers for the occult. Think about how in our two major capital letter ciphers, the letter G, the emblem on Freemasonry, the capital G has a gematria value of 13 in one of these methods and then 33 in the other. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks to everybody who popped in and contributed on the live chat. Once again, please feel free to check my videos as I've been exposing the coronavirus pandemic as an occult ritual meant to bring about the New World Order here in 2020, and expect this to continue through the rest of the decade in 2030 when it looks like this whole thing might come to a head. All right, guys, hope that if your states are protesting, you're showing up. Maybe make some poster boards of Gematria. I'm going to be doing the same thing in Wisconsin next week. On Friday, I'll be visiting the Capitol to protest the state's closure as our governor extended it another month, which is what they're doing in all the states. This is something I predicted immediately. Remember, the intention was to never shut down the states for just a month. The intention has always been to go on for several months. And it's absolutely the case right now. All right, guys. That'll do it. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya.